Hey guys, so tonight we have a little bit of a different episode for you. We are joined by Mary Beaver. She reached out to us and she said she has a message to share with our audience and the world, actually, in the event that something happens to her. So she is getting ready to do something that I'll let her tell you about. And she felt like it was necessary to get this message out before that happens. So here you are right now, getting this information firsthand from Mary herself. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on such short notice too.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
And by the way, if you don't know who Mary is, we've had her on a previous episode, and she's a U.S. Army veteran who has some secret space program memories and things of that nature. So go ahead, Mary.
okay, so the message that I wanted to get out was that about 6 months ago, I was approached by what would be considered some bad guys in this whole white hat, black hat nonsense going on, which in some instances people would think were, I guess, whatever, the theater. But the theater is real. It is really playing out. And these individuals were betrayed by the person that is actually behind all of it. So I know that we've all heard about the Masons and the Jesuits and the Cabal and the Illuminati, especially because I come from these families. I didn't even know how high up this went. It went up to kingdoms, and the royals are all a part of it. And so these, I'm not going to say obviously who they are. These people want to die in peace, but they were given the immunity, and we all heard about the immunities going on the last couple of years. So some people had immunity, so they got like the fake shot, and these guys were given a different shot. So if you know anything about which war was it? The war before Iraq, the one in Iran, where the soldiers that came back were hit with some kind of chemical. Well, it's like eating away their insides. It's turning it to mush. So this is a irreversible shot that these guys got. Their inner organs are literally turning to mush. Like it's not cancer. It's not any of that. They can't be saved. So they've accepted their fate. They went to the good guys, and the good guys gave them my information and the information of 9 other people, and we're considered heirs. Now, I've talked about this in some of my shows before, where I know I come from the bloodline of the Magdalens. I actually knew which one it was, but I didn't know what Jesus Christ it was. So there was two Jesus Christs. So one was Jesus 9, which was the Anunnaki bloodline of the Melchizedek bloodline. And then there's Jesus 12 of the blue-blooded Melchizedek bloodline. I come from his bloodline. So that's why it was such a forbidden thing, because Mary Magdalene was tricked into marrying Jesus 9. Now, I hate to have to say this is like a biblical thing, but you can't go around saying, hey, we're living in biblical times without, the Bible stuff coming forward, because it's really living, it's playing itself out. So she was Mary Magdalene. The reason she was considered an adulterer and a whore was because there was a secret covenant between her and Jesus 12. And that was the fail safe to the planet. And I had mentioned that the Majestics referred to me as MJ16, and I thought maybe that was because of my name, because before I was ghosted, my name was Mary Jones. But that's not what it stands for. It stands for the Mary and Jesus DNA sequence. My 16 stands for I'm a 16 DNA strand, which makes me an 80 strand in the scientific DNA sequence, and it's to raise the frequencies of the planet. There's somebody who talks more about this, and I was given her information and her videos. Her name is Ayesha Dean. I
Ashiana,
really, yeah, Shiana
Ashiana,
Dean. I just
yeah.
learned about her. So when I talked about going to the base 7 and transcribing the scrolls, she came out 2 months later talking about the three Jesuses. So I was kind of weirded out. I'm like, wow, that was like 2 months after I just, translated those. So I don't know how she got her information. I don't know any of that. This is the first time I've ever heard of her. But it kind of made sense. So these people who came to me, there's other people like them. I mean, these are very high worldly people that were a part of the reset and all that other stuff. So, and again, they were all betrayed by this New World Order guy. And he is a king. his name is King Alexander, and I'll show you some documents and I'll show you his face and everything else. And so what these people did is they came to the good guys and said, "Hey, we messed up, and this is this is what's happening. We don't give two craps about nothing else. We've accepted our fate. We just want to see him fall before we die," kind of thing. So it's like a revenge story almost, which is kind of childish, but whatever saves us and whatever gives us the key to save ourselves, right? So I'm working with these two. There's another high level person working with somebody in Australia. So I don't know where the others are. I know 3 of them died last year because they were found out, and this king had them murdered by their security. So I've been going through the master exit process from the strawman system, which the strawman system is real. I have the strawman paperwork. I have all of it. I have the banking information where all the gold is at, who has it. I have the codes to access it. They gave me everything. It was insane. So they said I had the best chance of challenging this king with my titles, because the titles that I have go back to 1891 to Mary of Queen of Scots. And then again, we've talked about the other titles, but they gave me more of the information that I didn't even know we had. So I did my documents. I've had it certified. I filed them. And now we may be going into the military to try to turn the military around, because we're being boxed in like rats. The border wall is being finished and nobody knows about it because they don't want people fleeing. There's military at the very top of the border, over 500,000 soldiers between Canada and us. And the attack, even though it was Luciferian, there was more behind it than people think. The attack on Hawaii was to allow more military troops guard that the West Coast border, so people couldn't leave in their boats and yachts and stuff like that. And then something's supposed to happen on the East Coast, so that military can be positioned there as well. So everybody in America is being boxed in, and you don't see it. So they're going to get ready to process humanity. It wasn't supposed to start until after January, after the 1st. And I did have a call from somebody in the military right now, a month and a half ago, and he asked me what the New World Order was. And I was like, well, wait a minute, you've been my friend for how long? And he kind of laughed and chuckled about it. He's like, well, come on. He's like, I love you to death, but sometimes you're a little out there, right? Until I'm not out there. And so I told him what it was, and I was like, well, why do you ask? And he said, well, we just got the new field manual to implement the New World Order after the 1st. Wow. So I have part of that manual, and it was signed by Obama. It's been signed by everybody after that. It wasn't signed by Trump. I don't know. The political stuff is all, it's not a ruse, but there's not going to be an election. The other people are going to try to stop the election. They're trying to push the patriots, the veterans, into attacking governments because people are feeling the squeeze. But we think that what you see isn't what's happening. So they want the patriots to attack the government buildings so that the government buildings can call for martial law, so they can stop the election and control the country. There's 3 militaries. You have a good military, you have the bad military, and now you have a private military. The private military is all these people who've been flooding in the last 3 years, and they're being trained by our soldiers, and these people don't know what's happening. They're just out there training them. I've talked to a few of them, and they think they're just getting paid good, right? So again, we're all being lied to. Again, nobody won the war. That's a trick.
These would be the guys like training, the underground training that we hear about. I've been watching videos on that, and they're interviewing these guys, and they don't know, they're just being taught to train to fight underground. And it's interesting. Is that the type of training you're talking about?
No, it's all on the surface.
Okay.
The other, so you've got Italy deployed here. You have Germany deployed here. Russia's deployed here. China's deployed here, they're all hiding in plain sight. So when we're talking about secret attacks, if you really wanted to go into special forces, they'll send special forces groups in by the dozens, right? To look like civilians living in another country. And they do that for 2 to 3 years so they can study the country. Well, guess what's been happening in the last 2 to 3 years under COVID? These deployed troops have been studying the country. Mm-hmm. So that way they know how to attack us from within. That is real. It is really here. And it is really about to explode. So I was, again, the last 6 months, 5-6 months, I've been having to claim these titles. I can challenge this king's authority, but it comes down to the people, whether they want to accept the titles so I can activate the generals that hold the right oath, and to take back our country and to stop this king from doing everything. So if you guys want, I would like to show you some of the documents so I can share my screen. That way you guys know exactly what everybody's up against. And so in the event anything happens to me.
And then before you share your screen, I have one question. So just to clarify for the audience and myself, you're talking about, so this King Alexander, if I'm understanding you right, he was giving orders to the White Hats and they thought he was, let's just say, benevolent of the light. And so the whole Q, Trump, the whole thing, the White Hats, Black Hats, that was all real, but everything was the orders were actually coming from the dark at the very top. And even
and they didn't know.
And even the military and Trump and all of them, they didn't know at the time. They didn't know that they were being duped by this guy. Okay. And then this is the king that you're essentially, your heir, your bloodline actually somehow gives you the right to overthrow or go against.
Well, because we're both part of the Christ, the Melchizedek bloodline. It just depends on which one. He may or may not be a coexistent of both, but I have it comes down to the DNA. And so I have the highest DNA because they're generationally born here. I was brought here, so it's different.
Can you share what branch of the military that your friend shared that document to you or with you from?
Well, yeah, because if it goes out, it was Space Force.
Space Force, okay.
Yeah.
And so they were given a document to tell them, a field manual, to implement the New World Order as of January 1st, 2024?
Yep.
Okay, so that's all. You can go ahead and share your screen and show us what you got.
I'm curious, like what that would entail exactly, and does like, I'm assuming that's compartmentalized, where only the higher ups know that's what's going on, but the rest of the military is just following whatever orders they're given, right? It's not like every single person in the military knows, hey, we're all implementing the New World Order, you know? I'm assuming that's not exactly
right. Well, that's why he called, because he's heard me say it before. And again, he's not a conspiracy theorist, so he doesn't really follow. He's a patriot. I would say he's Trump awake. I mean, there's different levels of wokeness, right?
Yeah.
We're awake to the celestial part and everything else. I'm awake to really. It was violently thrown at me again.
Right.
Hey, you can handle it. Boom.
But that's what I'm saying.
Take on this guy.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like they always have to have an excuse, like a fake reason for their orders or for doing things, when in fact the real reason is something completely different. So like the real thing, they want to implement the New World Order on January 1st, but they're going to come up with they need some kind of excuse for whatever they're going to order the troops to do, you know?
Right. That's going to stop the elections. Yeah. They can't have Trump come in. I'm not saying Trump's a good or a bad guy. I do know what happened to Trump. He's a part of I was just told that he's part of what's called the Bavarian Illuminati. And I know the word Illuminati is very upsetting to people, but the Illuminati were not always bad. The Bavarian Illuminati was a alchemic school of ascended masters under the Emerald Covenant of Jesus Christ. So the real one, the Blue Melchizedek, and they were all part of this thing. That's why all of these bad guys know how to use these powers and know how to use all of this esoteric stuff. They just do it in the course of sacrifice, instead of through love and, the original, what was really supposed to happen.
Rock.
So, so I am actually considered a priestess of the Bavarian Illuminati, and they have been the ones protecting me throughout this entire course. I just didn't want to mention it because, Illuminati scares people. And because I come from the bad side of the families, it's like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with them either. So I get where people are coming from. So something did happen to Trump. It's not my place to say, but again, everybody was fooled and tricked. So I'm not going to say if it is the Antichrist, but he wooed everybody into believing he was the Messiah, if you will, that he was here to save the world. His documents just look amazing. Like when I read the first one, it was like, oh, well, this guy sounds like he's legit. Like he really wants to save the world. He's calling out, these certain people and these certain families and these certain, things. But then when I found the 34-page document that talked about the process of, disposing of the assets. And when you realize what the assets are, it's us. It's the people, because we're the collateral to the banks. So if they close the current banks, they have to close out the humans that are attached to those accounts, because you can't, it's the straw man. You have to kill the straw man to close the account out in order to collect on the assets. So we're the collateral. This is where the huge process is going to come in, and they're going to start killing people on mass scales, 22,000 each rotatively in all the camps in America. Rotative meaning within a month, 22,000 people have to die in each base.
Okay, let's see these documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is called the resolution documents. Did it come in?
Yep.
Okay, I think this is just the 6-page document. I'm going to scroll all the way down just to see which one this is. Okay, this is the 34-page document. So this is the one where it shows the other part. So this is the International Treasury Monetary One Banking. This is the world banking. So I'll just want to kind of scroll through it, and you guys can pause it as you redo it. Other people can pause it. So that way we're not losing all this time. But here's the World Bank numbers. The International Treasury Monetary One is the owner of the world accounts, all the accounts. Down here, confirm that the monetary reform is based on the principles contained in the resolution. You can look up these different resolutions on anti-crisis financial measurements. These are code words: anti-crisis, anti-Christ financial measures, on approval of New World Reserve, meaning New World Orders on the global financial system. So they're playing with the words in here, so people can't figure it out, and they think, oh, this is a great document, right? So it talks about the U.S. gold, it talks about the fiat, talks about the treasuries. And all of these, again, can be researched and looked up. I had to do it. Trump did put in an order stating that everything had to go to the gold-backed dollar. So this is where it talks about the gold standard, but they're not going to let us have our gold. So gold standard means you guys get your gold back. You get your treasury money. They don't want you to have it, because if you have access to your own treasuries, then nobody can control you. So all of it in here, it sounds great. And these were the documents that were presented to our world governments, and the world governments were like, yes, and so we did have the white hats. The white hats were used. The shadow government was used. All they needed to do was get rid of the people that they didn't need anymore. So, and kind of what this means is when they don't need us, and if they are able to do martial law, they're going to start issuing warrants for people, and they're going to call them pedophiles. They're going to call them murderers, rapists, and thieves. Innocent people are going to be, you and I could be called pedophiles because we're terrorists, right? We're considered terrorists to the government because we're coming out with information. So they could come in and take everybody in the house and take us to the camps, and then it's done. And they'll do it synchronistically so that people don't realize that whole towns are being picked up. They'll do every other house, and they'll tell the people that are like asking questions, oh, these guys are pedophiles, or oh, these guys are this. They're just labeling, and they're not showing evidence. So this is part of the calling process. So that way, those that do have guns and those that can stand won't, because they feel like, oh, these guys have warrants. They're bad people. That they did it in World War II. and World War Ones. It's the
They,
same process, and they're going to do it here.
I've already
Huh?
seen New Mexico, just their governor, Albuquerque, New Mexico, their governor just passed something to take away the gun rights. They took away all the gun rights,
Right.
and there's this big uproar already. So that's the first domino, and hopefully we don't see more of that.
Right.
But that did just happen.
Well, and you'll be interested in one of these documents was signed futuristically. So they either use um, the way back to go back and sign these to implement it in a future timeline. But again, here's all your accounts, the world accounts. This one is a pretty long document, and I can share the links with you guys if you want, instead of just scrolling through it. You can post those or send these out, but pretty much just Alexander Nikolaevich Pyromanova, His Highness, the Chief Treasury of International Treasury. So, and right here, you'll see the United Nations number. All of these documents are sanctioned under the United Nations. So the United Nations has waged a war against the free people. So they are no longer to be trusted. They're actually terrorists against freedom. So you'll see a lot of these numbers. You can Google those numbers. As of right now, until this kill switch can come out, don't Google this person. They have the highest technology, and they can hunt you down just by it doesn't matter how many fail safes you have on your computer. The only reason they can't do it to mine is because mine's attached to a government portal, and I made sure that it just went straight back to the deep space program. So they can't find me at the moment. Doesn't mean that they don't know, but they can't find me. So I can share, and this is the reason I was given the access in order to print these out.
Who are you saying not to Google?
This king.
Alex, okay.
Right. Google it after it's sent out. Don't do it right now. As curious as you guys are, people have already died. So the minute you go into their web pages, it tracks your URL. Doesn't matter how many fail safes, how many reroutes, how many hackers you think you know. These guys have all of them, and they have the best. So they will find you. One person already got attacked. They did survive, but the other people did not. So there's some people have already died trying to help me in the last couple months. So just have to be very careful. We didn't know how advanced these people were. So you'll see the present people. These are all, and you'll see their faces too. These are all the names. There's only 8 people that literally are running the world. Trump told us a while ago, he's like, there's only 8 people, but you don't know who they are. I was given who they are, and I'll show you their faces too. This is an extremely long document. So let's go to another one. This one kind of looks the same, but it talks more about the different the treasuries that they've obtained. These are historical treasuries. These are the treasuries of our history, of our actual God-given right history. So, and it will tell you, they now are the owners because our governments gave power to these people because they tricked them into believing that they were the spiritual people. So you have all of these accounts and then other accounts. There's a lot more than these. I have the other accounts from previous, but again, I wasn't allowed to share all that. The Maria Christina one is in here as well. So they've also captured that account. So that's why I can challenge him, because he doesn't have the legal right to it. But this goes into where it sounds great. The resolution and all this other stuff. It will mention International Treasury. Where does it? I think it was down here. Here it is. The criminal terrorist community of the Illuminati, jointly with the criminal lodge led by Michael Rockefeller, called Abaton. So they're calling out all of these people, the crimes against God and humanity. Again, I've told you, when you guys talk about God, you got to point out what God that they're talking about. So crimes against what God? So the Metatron God is what they refer to. They don't want creator God. They're trying to take out creator God's children. So humanity, they're talking about them, not us. We're the parasites to them. We're the terrorists to them. The children of God, the creator source God. Now, again, conducted the genocide of the people, they're talking about their people, not us. We don't count because they don't consider us to be even anywhere close to them. So
right.
This message is not to us, but they made it appear that it was to get everybody on board so that the United Nations and everybody else would sign over the world to them. And that's what happened. That's where the New World Order went. So, and you'll see all that in here, the criminal official werewolves and equalettes and stuff like that. They talk about the spiritual everything and the miracles, and anybody who has witnessed the miracles has either gone back into the past to sit in front of the Christ sons, or they are old and they've been here a while. Nobody has witnessed the miracles unless you were tampering with timelines. So they may have, we don't know. Due to the game of the gods and the transformation of the world, Ra and Mother Earth, and again, I've told you Mother Earth is the big titan worm, into a light and celestial state in order to fulfill God's providence by divine providence, by the right of the sovereign, by the right of the hereditary ownership of all assets of the world. Assets, again, is us. We're the assets because we're the collateral. Mm-hmm. So they make it seem like they're going, and again, this letter looks amazing. Like they're really fighting for the people, but it's not us, it's their people. They're fighting the angelic bloodlines.
Right. It's just a play on words. It's deception,
right?
Black magic, whatever you want to call it.
So you said that the White Hats were tricked by this figure for a long time until just recently when they found out that they're being played, essentially.
I think they found out in 2021.
A couple years ago.
Yeah. Because the letter I'm going to show you, the threat letter, every country eventually got that letter, but they wouldn't give me the one for America. So again, here's all the signatures. Here's all the Illuminati eyes. And all
was
that
Biden getting in a part of this figures? Did he want that, or was that a trick, or was that actually a good thing, do you think?
Well, I mean, he's dead now. All the loyalists.
Well, I mean, it's not actually guy that's supposed to be Biden, whatever.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, they were all promised life, like years with the clones. So again, here's the board. I'm going to introduce you, but these guys are Knights Templars. And again, Ayesha Dean talks about the Templars. It is 100% real, and they are the fallen angels. I asked one months ago, because I asked him if he had any bones in his back that were between his spine and his shoulder blade, and he starts laughing, and I'm like, why are you laughing? And he was like, it's just the stuff you say sometimes. And I was like, I didn't find that very funny. And he's like, well, I went to the doctor yesterday, being the day we talked, and he said he has a small little bone on the left side of his shoulder blade. And I was like, oh my God, you're a fallen angel.
Really?
So God burnt their wings when they fell from heaven, and he left the reminder in their back. So they have these bone seed wings. So anybody born of the fallen angels has an extra bone in their back, or 2 extra bones. And these are the seeds of their fall. They're the crimes of their fathers, if you will. So, okay, so I'm going to show you who the king is. You ready? He's beautiful.
Wow.
Isn't he handsome? Here's his
exactly, I would imagine typical pedophile would look like.
Right.
So he is the Knight Grand Intendant of the Sovereign Order of the St. John Jerusalem Rhodus Malta, the Supreme Sovereign of the Order of the Hospitallers. So again, these guys are bad news, and now we know who the actual saint was that betrayed the Jesus Christ bloodline. It was St. John. And here are some of his minions.
Man, what Rambo movie is this from?
Right.
They look like the thugs from every movie.
Right. I mean, that's what they're modeled after.
There's a reason for that, probably, right?
Well, that's how they got their way to the top.
Right.
Well, and these guys are masters. However, they are not ascended masters. They cannot ascend in and out. They have to use dark magic. So they are stuck here and they want to take over the world and the universe so that they can have the all power because of Metatron. But Metatron's not coming back, and these guys don't believe that. So they think if they do the world's biggest sacrifice, that they could bring Metatron back to the galaxy. So there's two new ones. The last time I looked at this, these two at the end are new, so you won't see their credibilities. I don't know exactly who they are, but this guy's been up there for a while. I don't know if this is blocking that at all.
No, we can see it.
Okay, so developmental director. And again, these are all knights, right? And we all thought that the Knights Templar were the good guys, but again, it depends on what god they're fighting for. And these guys fight for the god Metatron. And so this is the Metatronic frequency. So this is the board member. These are the symbols. Again, more numbers from the United Nations. So these people have been ordained to take over the world. So, and they own it currently. Let's see what this one is. Okay, so here's the official demand letter. This is where it gets funny with our money. It's awesome. Okay, so the official demand letter, and I'll go ahead and read it. Hereby express our deep respect to your excellency. The International Treasury Monetary One is guided by previous resolutions and statements. We are the owner and manager of the World Account at World Bank, account number, and then there's the account numbers distributed among various banks and countries around the world. We are the owner and manager of assets, including bank accounts under the names White Spiritual Boy, Spiritual Wonder Boy, Spiritual Wonder Brothers, Morning Star, King David, Prophet Muhammad, Demas and Saint Timothy, White Mongolia, White Vatican, White Eagle, which I believe is here, Maria Siniquan of Divine Crystal, Maria Divine Vanaha of Sunflower, Maria Christina or Divine Magdalene, Maria McKilling or Divine Esther Egg, Falcon, Alpha Omega, and other accounts located in different banks and countries around the world. We are the owners and managers of all spiritual codes, master codes, swift codes, system access codes to accounting, distribution, and control all above accounts and all settlement systems. Now, our banks are based off of us. Again, the treasuries are connected to us. The treasuries create the trust, and we're the collateral to the trust based off our treasuries. So if he owns all the treasuries, he now owns all the assets attached to it, which is us. So we remind that over the past period of more than 2 years, everyone who tried to challenge our legal right to the disposal of assets, these are key words, were convinced. I love that one. They were convinced that all rights to the disposal of management of the assets move to us with observance of all norms of law and the laws of our world. Again, their world. It's not our world. And we're able to see the sacred basis of divine law. So now they're using divine law against humanity as an indisputable fact, witnessing miracles of the Saint Divine Providence, which is the Emerald Covenant. Taking into account the transferred rights of accounting, distribution, and control of assets in your country and related organizations in accordance with international law. We notified your side of the transfer of the right of disposal and management and notify all decisions and resolutions adopted, paying attention to a true, real history of the use of these assets known to us by the right of management and disposal. Again, keywords, disposal of the assets taken. They admit they have taken it. We, represented by the International Treasury Monetary One, conducted a thorough study. We have come to the final irrevocable decision of which we are informing your country and related organizations by this official demand. This is where it gets funny. We revoke all rights of accounting, management, and control over accounts. White Spiritual Boy, from your country and related organizations associated. These are the major accounts in Switzerland, Slovakia, and all the other ones that controlled all the other world banks. So when they got a hold of those, they pretty much didn't take long to hold the other ones. We recall all assets that were previously transferred to your respective country and related organizations. We activate the blocking of all system access codes to accounting, distribution, and control that your country and related organizations had. In connection with the transfer of assets at our disposal and management, observing all the norms of international law, the assets entered into the balance of the Sovereign Bank of the Order of Hospitallers of St. John of Jerusalem. In this regard, we strongly recommend starting the procedures of removal from the balance of these assets and all securities formed on the basis of these assets, and gradually beginning the elimination of the valid and fiat. We are the fiat money. Financial resources received by central bank and related organizations. We notify that from the moment of the blocking of all system access codes to the accounting distribution, your country financial organizations will not be able to make transfers in any settlement system of valid and fiat financial resources formed on the basis of these assets. So that's why nobody's getting remedy from the courts, any of the sovereign movements. That's why Nasara Jassar has been stopped, all of it. So there is no possibility to consider the preservation of formed securities, valid and fiat financial resources on the basis of assets that have been put into use and have not been sent to social projects up to this point. Likewise, consideration of proposals is impossible. From the moment of receipt of this notification to make the necessary system notifications in the global financial system within 48 hours in order to notify all banking and interbank organizations in a timely manner, we instruct your country and related organizations. We remind that any action using the above assets for the purpose of monetization in the financial system are a crime and are the personal and individual responsibility of persons, officials, and bank officers who commit these crimes. We remind the sacred right of the guardians of the above assets have been revoked, and any actions contrary to the resolution of the International Treasury Monetary One, numbers dated February 23rd, 2021. The cancellation of historical assets in order to form a new, well-balanced financial system will have immediate, inescapable, sacred, and obvious consequences of the guardians with manifestations in the material world. We remind that in order to prevent fraud and deception of bona fide subjects of law, it is prescribed, to transfer the register of documents for entry into the liquidation memorandum for the purpose of accounting, analysis, and evaluation of the integrity of ex-guardians, ex-holders, ex-managers of the right to manage historical assets for the global financial system. And again, signed by His Majesty Alexander.
So you obtained these documents how again? Can you explain that one more time?
They were given to me by the gentleman that approached myself. Again, there was 10 heirs, and we were all approached by different people because we're all scattered around the world. And then there's a world administrative. I've never heard of this before, but I'm not going to say they're like the Eternals, but maybe something like it. They look over the world and make sure it doesn't kill itself, right? So they're part of it. I don't know their names. I don't know where they're from. They could be inner Earth. They could be wherever. I have no idea. All I know is that they need to stop what's about to happen, because if the processing of humanity happens, it's going to happen at such a rate that is going to be the most devastating in history. So this is the third reset, and it'll be bad. Because there's billions of people. All the other resets were maybe 1 or 2 billion. This is the most. But these are angelic bloodlines. And what these gentlemen told me was that this king actually wants only 50,000 survivors, because we are attached to the gates. What do you call those? The stargates. So he's calculated that leaving 50,000 of us alive, he can still control the stargates. So he wants to literally get rid of everybody by 2040 is what they were told.
Well, good luck.
Right? He can do it. That's the thing. If the people don't stand up. Now, God gave a small window, like a very small window. Let me show you one of these documents because, again, it's future dated. And so this is real quick. This is the king, and look at that. He has all the same code numbers. The Omega. Authority, mandate, general power, attorney, NEO, the United Kingdom of God, Sky, Earth, executive order. Again, here comes the United Nations, Swiss Indu, top secret, C11, freedom forever of the New World Order, beneficial name, ownership integrated. This king is actually the one that's in the Philippines holding on to all the gold under this king. So all these guys are some kind of like royal king. So I think it's in here.
No. I think it's funny they call him white spiritual boy.
Right.
Right.
It's like almost degrading, it's belittling or something.
It sounds like they're making fun of.
Right.
Yeah, it's like they give him power, but they like give him this demeaning name. So like it's still they hold power over them.
That one's not opening, so that's the well. So these are all their accounts. Where'd that document? Oh, maybe it's this one. Okay, so right here, look at the date on this, October 21st, 2023. I've had this document for a couple of months now, and I just noticed the date on it. So this one is written, I believe, in Russian. I don't speak or write in Russian. Same thing. It has all the signatures on it, and then it goes into English down here. So active acceptance and transfer of assets. Again, we're the assets. And in order to transfer into the spiritual banks, he's got to take out the assets. So.
Wow.
And he uses all these amazing words that are part of the forbidden knowledge. The new era of the sovereign international. Okay, well, I guess, but see, we're not considered living. We're just, according to the straw man, we're all dead.
Well, and sovereign, if you actually look it up, it's has to do with hierarchy and I forgot exactly what it doesn't mean what we think it means, actually, by definition.
Right. So I do have titles that can combat this king, and I just filed for them. Mine's obviously not going to look as amazing as his, but whatever. I don't have any resources. I did it the poor man way. So I can show you those guys, these ones. Can you still see? Did it switch over? Or hold on. Okay. Hold on. It didn't switch over. Here we go. How about now?
It's still the same screen.
Is it?
There it goes. There it goes.
Okay. So I had to create a book because I had to bind it. They said, don't give any of this to the government because the other 3 heirs were killed when they brought the government into it. And I'd already mentioned that. So,
really quick, sovereign means, by definition, according to Google, a supreme ruler, especially a monarch, or a former British gold coin worth £1 sterling. Adjective, possessing supreme or ultimate power.
Right. So here's the titles I was given. So here's the commission that my family had since 1891. It was never decommissioned. It was just shelved. And this is, I guess, where the world administrators come in, is they monitor the royals. And if the royals get too out of hand, what they do is they contact the bloodline heirs to take their place. And it's kind of like, we're going to swap you guys out nonchalantly. So it was kind of a shock. I didn't believe it. It was a little over the top, even for me, and I'm pretty over the top,
Right.
So when I was presented with this, I mean, we knew we had the royal families, but it had been so long, and I was like, oh, that's what, 100, a little over 100 years ago. So by the namesake inheritance that they told me to claim this, they gave me the seal. And so I'm the rightful heiress. And so I can challenge this king. And I'm under the order of the Saint Maria Christina of the Divine Providence of the priestesshood of the Balkan Phoenician Kingdom. So, which is the Bulgarian kingdom, and it's actually attached to the west coast of America. And I can show you some of the pictures. They had me use certain stamps. The compass is huge because the ancient cities, even older than Atlantis was small compared to these cities. When you were flying above, they looked like a compass, and they were set directly with the Earth's gravitational. Each city, angelic city, was built to keep the world on balance into the 12 dimensions, if hot, not higher. So when all those cities fell, because these were like the kingdom part, these were all houses. So again, the cities looked like a compass. So it was fascinating when they told me that. They said I had to use a compass on the things, and it was for protection. So this is how thick the book is. That's my dog in the background. One of the title covers, it was a little blurry, but it pretty much says the same thing. So the flags, this is the civil peace flag. I was very upset when I had to use this flag because I did not like this flag. To me, it didn't have any symbolicness, but evidently the civil peace flag is how you get out of the system. Now, to be a veteran, to hear that the United States flag is a Union war flag against the free people was upsetting, because a lot of people died for that flag. I fought for that flag, but it's a Union flag, and it's a symbol of war against the free people. So this is the correct flag of peace, and that's why the stripes are down. I didn't like it because Anna von Ritz went and ran with it and made it like sound like this horrible thing with whatever she was doing. But again, she's part of the Vatican nonsense to try to keep people looped into a bunch of crap. Oil, gas, and mineral deed. I'm an oil heiress and the soul heir to a lot of the minerals. I will be reclaiming all the minerals, and the minerals will be returned back to each country, because it's ridiculous that any country owns somebody else's minerals. Every country should thrive on its own, and the kingdoms should be restored to their own minerals. And so I, by default, am the oil heiress to every mineral on the planet, because the Illuminati and the Knights Templars were dumb enough to put it under one company that my family has the only legitimate seat to. So, and it says deed of trust and treasury, because you have to claim the trust and your treasury. Everybody will be given the same document. The stamps are important in order to get out of the strawman system. This one is the 1777 Alta California stamp. Believe it or not, there's still an active registered flag in California, and it's in Disneyland in the castle. So the Bavarian, not the Bavarian, the Mary Magdalene's flag was the royal purple. It had 12 stars and 1 star in the middle. So if you think about it, the Alta California flag was white with a 1 star. So as kind of a mocking, Disneyland puts the 12 stars around their castle in their introduction, and that flag is registered inside their castle. So wow. It's still, an Alta California is still legally the territory of the West Coast. This is a maritime stamp. So the sea lanes are in California, and they're connected to the Kingdom of Bavaria. But the Kingdom of Bavaria is still there. It's just run by the Illuminati, the bad ones, and the Knights Templar, now that we found out who's running the world. So whoever owns the sea lanes owns the world, but it wasn't ever supposed to be in a bad way. They were like, I would just be a guardian if I challenged this king. It's not really a queen position, it's a guardian position. It's to help everybody and to make sure none of this chaos happens again. So these stamps are important. The self mailers, this is how you do the poor man's stuff. So
copyright,
yeah. So this is, I know it's hard to see, but if you look, I was told recently that I was a prophecy child, and that was that was extremely hard for me to swallow. I don't want to believe it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's kind of hard to believe that anybody's a prophecy child, but whatever.
Right.
I have an all-seeing eye, excuse me, on my arm. You can see it right here, just the eyeball. It's always been there. It's a birthmark. Freckles are considered birthmarks on redheads, and light-skinned people normally, they just don't come out until the sun hits them, but they're always there. So in 1979, the eye of God showed in the sky, and the Vatican was looking for a child born under the eye of God. Now, the two Jesuses were born under the Star of David, and both of them had a birthmark of the star. Moses had a birthmark where he was born under a certain symbol as well. So I drew it out where it's usually darker, but when everything hit, I started wearing long sleeve shirts to cover it up. So it wasn't easy to see, because it was very easy to see at that time. I didn't want people to think that I was like branded as the beast, but this is the prime heavens. This is where heaven is. This is where creator source is. And that's the eye of God. So I was brought down during this time, and that's the mark that I have on my arm. So it was very hard for me to swallow all that.
And where is that in space exactly?
I don't know where it's in space. That's just what I was shown. That was the prime heavens. So
okay, so that's not like somewhere I could like get a telescope and like see it.
You would have to have like the eye of Lucifer, the telescope of Lucifer, in order to see it.
Which is that
NASA.
the one at the Vatican?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they watch the heavens all the time.
Wow.
Do you think they're going to try to pull like a fake alien invasion scenario? Do you think they're going to actually like pull that off, and that's going to be their excuse to? So
yeah, this is where I wanted to talk in Vegas, but they're not going to let me get to Vegas. They zeroed out my accounts, all of them. Stole all my money, and I don't know if I can make it. And we may have to go to the military sooner. So that's why I was like, I need to make these Dead Man Switch videos before anything further happens, because I don't know what will happen. And the real aliens, this is what I was going to expose to you guys. The real aliens, they look like us. It's the fallen angels. The other aliens that we see, the grays, the blue men, and all those, they're malevolent beings just like us. A lot of them were also bred in labs, mutated. They were spliced, and I can go ahead and show you. And this is why I think they're trying to stop me from going, because they didn't want you guys to know. The bad guys don't want you to know that they look like us. You know what I mean? So it's not a fake alien invasion. It's the fallen angels using, high technology to take out God's children.
Right.
So it's a real invasion
it's a real invasion. Yeah.
Planning on doing.
And right. So,
and what better way to get ahead of the narrative years ahead of it. We've heard people talking about this fake alien invasion for a long time. So by the time it happens, everyone's just going to assume it's fake. I mean, and there's going to be an aspect of it, if it happens, that is staged. Yeah, it's not like they're just coming in from outer space and nobody knows what's going on. Like, it's staged.
Like, we knew there was going to be real destruction, but it was like the main, at least, thing that I've heard is that they're going to use, it's going to be like deep state people or whatever using reverse engineered ET tech and like craft, anti-gravity craft and all that, to pose as aliens coming from somewhere out in space, coming and attacking. Right. And the aliens are attacking. Now we have to give us all your rights, and we have to implement this new world, as the excuse. Problem, reaction, solution. That's how they always operate. But it makes sense also, though, what you're saying. Like, I would,
Yeah, either one's, I think it does make sense. So you said,
well, and that's why they told us. And again, I believed it too. It was really going to be our military, and they were going to just look like, spacecrafts and stuff, right? But it was going to be hidden military. They're telling you without telling you. And it's just like, oh, okay. So they have this technology to do that, to make your the planes look like a spacecraft. And there's going to be military people in there, but they're really the invader races. And again, they look like us. They're just a lower frequency DNA and considered fallen angels.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that, certain testimonies, whenever people ask what did the ETs look like, they're exactly like us, but maybe a little taller
Right.
or younger, but still
Thinner,
you might
longer
not,
faces.
you could walk past them in the grocery store and potentially not know,
Right. Well, and that's why when I was like, I've been to some of the underground bases and I never saw any of the ones like on Men in Black, they all looked human. I was like, but they didn't feel right. So maybe they were wearing a suit or something. You know what I mean? You can feel them. I
Right.
mean, we can talk all day long, but if you don't feel something, that's where we have to start trusting our feelings, because the heavens are really trying to get into everybody down here. Like, if that doesn't feel right, you need to trust that feeling, because these people are really bad and they don't care, and they are stuck on the adrenochrome. But then there's another thing is, if we look at all the biblical stuff, when all this stuff was coming out, they were looking for what? The Messiah. So when they started harvesting people like at mass scales, why? Because they were looking for a child born. There is a Christ child right now in America. They have located him here, and that's why they're rat boxing everybody in. They don't know where he is. They don't know who he is. He doesn't know who he is right now. But they located him down here because they were following the spiritual beings. Because we had the Shaolin monks in the beginning of the year touring America. Why were they touring America? They weren't really, looking around trying to teach people about spirituality. They were secretly looking for the spiritual child. And then you had the recent 40 spiritual people coming into California a few months ago, all the shamans. They're now touring America again. And why are 40 spiritual people from all over the world touring America during the worst time ever? And then you have the 12 India medicine spiritual men in America. Why are they touring America? Now, this is what the Illuminati watch for. They follow the mystics.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, who were we just talking to that said their 2-year-old daughter, they were driving and their 2-year-old daughter just randomly said out of the back seat, said, Jesus Christ is going to return in 2022. And then for a year after that, the child had never spoken before that and really couldn't talk yet. And then after that, they still didn't know how to talk, but they just randomly said it.
I don't even remember that, to be honest.
Maybe it was somebody I was just having a conversation with. She was telling me her daughter just randomly said this and blew her mind. And
right.
And that wasn't. I don't remember that. That must have been to my year talking.
Yeah, it was. Who was I just talking to? Anyway, she was tripping out because her daughter couldn't talk yet, and she said, "Jesus Christ is going to return in 2022, Mom."
That's the first thing.
Yeah, it's not something a kid would say.
Yeah, you think,
right?
The first thing.
So that would mean that he's already here, like you just said, the Christ child. If that, I don't know if that's even related. But.
The Illuminati confirmed it when I spoke to them a while back. They said, because I asked them and I was like, so is the Christ child here? And they were like, well, we feel something, but we don't know where. So they confirmed it, but they still didn't at the time know where. So it was like, okay, so he's still a child. But that's why they're all here. And that's why the big harvest has to take place here, because they narrowed him down to being here in America.
They're trying to kill him.
They're trying to kill him. Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming he's being protected, though.
Right, because he doesn't have his memories. So, and whoever his guardians are, or parents or whoever, because again, the angelic people are going to do it the right way. They're going to be born down here. It was forbidden for any of them to just fall. Do you see what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
the Jesus child is going to be born.
Like the starseed concept, like we had to incarnate,
right?
Not just
correct. Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has all been incredibly fascinating, and thank you for deciding to reach out to us and share this information on our platform. Is there any last words you'd like to share, or anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Just for patriots and veterans, don't go to the government buildings. Don't go to your sheriff's buildings. You outnumber them. They know you do. And this gives them the key to activate the bad martial law. And that's what they're egging you on to do it. They need you to do it because you have to threaten them first. So they're inciting all this stuff against you, taking away what constitutional rights you think you have. I know that everybody, well, it's our constitution. No, you need to start thinking divinely. You have a divine right to be here. You know what I mean? The Constitution is a set of rules to be controlled.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with it.
Right.
So what you need to do is the military works for the people who are being threatened. They were discharged from being solely allowed to work with one faction. So if the people are being threatened, the people need to go to the military. Brazil was the biggest show of this. They didn't go to their governments and start, pounding on the door like France did. You guys have no idea what's happening to those people right now. They're not showing it. They showed the resistance and the parliament fell in some of those countries. Well, now those people are being arrested by military and hung for treason against the governments. So don't go to your government buildings. Do what Brazil did, and you go to your militaries, your bases in mass numbers. You don't have to take a gun or anything, but they have to work for the people. You have to say the government is doing this. The military has to work for whoever is in distress. So if you put the government unarmed in distress, they will work for the government. If you go to the military in mass numbers under distress because the government is harvesting you, they have to work for you. And that's where, as a veteran, I didn't even realize it at first, but you can't go to the government officials because they're the ones, screwing everybody over. You have to go to the military because at the end of the day, the military is the one that does it. Mm-hmm. So you can't attack innocent government. You have to go to the military and say they're attacking us. And you need to do what's your job. Mm-hmm. So, and since you're the cestacue of the accounts that are paying the military, you just have to realize I am the straw man. They do get paid by the treasury. So now they have to work for us, but it has to be in a big enough number that the people are heard. Mm-hmm. So I will be going to the military. I don't know how. I have to present my titles, and the generals hopefully will accept my titles as the one to challenge this king so we can take back our America. So I'm just one person. I'm scared to death, but I got to do it. But I hope I can give everybody else the courage to stand up too.
Yeah, thank you. And you have our full support in whatever you're getting ready to do. And we'll send extra protection. I know you're going to be protected, but thank you for doing what you're doing. This is all new information to me. A lot of it is right. A lot of it I've heard, chatter about. So, it's tough to swallow. Like you said, you had a hard time swallowing it yourself, but, I'm so glad you provided documents and photographs to back up what you're saying, because that was huge in my opinion. I really think that was crucial. And makes this not just another video. So, good luck with everything. And sincerely, I mean that.
And just be careful looking up this guy before that happens. It has to be done on a world scale where everybody's looking him up at the same time, because they don't have big enough numbers to go after millions of people. So that's why the kill switches are important. So as much information can get out at once. And they're not just targeting people individually and taking people out, because they will, and they have. So yeah. Mm-hmm. If it can be done in sync, I know God and the angels are behind us and we can get this done. It seems hard right now because I had 6 months to swallow this stuff. You guys are just getting thrown with it. So
yeah,
it's a little harder for, I would say, everybody else.
I mean, it is. Everything is a hard pill to swallow when the first time you hear it, especially when it's something that challenges everything you believed in and everything you think you know. So it's not anything out of the ordinary. We're used to that now these past couple of years.
Right.
So I mean, stuff getting thrown our way all the time. Nobody knows what to believe. But like you said, if you have to learn how to feel into this stuff, and you just have to know, like, you got to go with your gut. They manipulate you away from your intuition. They want you in your head. They want you overthinking and connecting dots, information.
They want you in fear too.
Yeah, and they want you in fear.
They want you powerless and be afraid of everything happening to you, like you're always a victim. Because the truth is, we are very powerful, and they don't want us to know that. Because the second enough of us know that, it's game over. Mm-hmm. And know what the game it's being played here.
Right.
Well, the veterans are trying to, the veterans and the rednecks are starting, they've been ready since 1775. So, I mean,
Right.
but we can't have that war.
Right.
We have to make sure that the right people are in the right place in order to start that war. So if I would hate for the bad guys to start the war first, because, it'll be harder than right now. We've got this very small golden wind of opportunity that I think we can win. I mean, I know we've won spiritually. Now we have to win physically. So, or it just all turns over and it's bad.
Right.
Like I said, thank you. Thank you so much for coming forward and sharing this information, and good luck with everything. You have our support.
Thank you.
And you're going to do great. You're going to do great. So
thank you. I hope so.
Right. Okay. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Guys, please share this far and wide. If you're watching this, share it everywhere you can. We'll probably upload it to every single platform we have, even the ones we don't use, just for backups. And yeah, we'll just see what happens. But please share this far and wide if you feel compelled to, obviously. And thanks again for joining us. Good night, everybody.